Know what to eat, but find yourself not eating it. Perhaps you've been on diets and off again and just wonder why you can't stick to them. The Eating For You podcast, hosted by me, Sallyanne Pisk, will show you what's been missing so you can enjoy a healthier way of eating that lasts. Hi, Sallyanne with you today, and I'm excited to be having a conversation with Gale about her adoption of mindful eating to support her health and well-being. Welcome, Gale.
Hi, Sallyanne. Hi, everyone. It's good to be here this afternoon.
Yeah, I'm not the only one wanting to talk to you and hear your story, because I just realised too, Gale, it's about 10 months since you finished our mindful eating program. So that's a fair space of time. But anyway, before we move on to that, I just want to share a little bit about Gale. Gale met her hubby Terry while they're both serving in the Navy. They were married until his passing in 2022 and had over 45 years together. They struggled to have children for 7 years, and then their miracle daughter baby arrived in 1984, and a surprise son some 20 months later. Both children are now grown up, happily married, and have daughters, and a new grandchild is on the way and expected in June. Gale has also been a mum to a beautiful 10-and-a-half-year-old schnoodle, Sadie, who passed away last year. And she has now welcomed a 6-year-old cavoodle, Lexi, into the family. Gale enjoys many interests, including bonsai, cooking, sewing, embroidery, gardening, reading, crocheting, knitting, and Bible study. And she is involved with her local RSL and Legacy. And Gale says that there are no quirky facts about her, as she believes she is normal, despite what her family and friends say. So, Gale, I hate to tell you, we're on a bit of a mission today during our discussion to see if we can uncover some quirky facts about you.
Not going to happen.
So, Gale, let's start at the beginning. How would you describe the journey that you've had with food and eating over the years?
It's been a real up and down process, yo-yo dieting. I've tried many diets. I've tried different programs, and I always found them frustrating. I hated living with the restrictions they sort of imposed, and the support wasn't always there, whether it's from family or workers within those programs. Yeah, it was just hard, and I lost the interest of cooking when my husband, in the later stages of his life. Yeah, and I'm just starting to get back into cooking now.
Yeah, no, thanks for sharing that. I must say, I was pleased when I received your bio that you had cooking there. And I'm thinking, I know that was something that you were really struggling with when we first met. And to regain that interest is just a wonderful thing, because if we can cook for ourselves, it is a very nourishing experience. So that's really great.
Yeah, and I've been cooking with veggies out of my own garden, so
yes,
and the neighbours' gardens as well.
no, you've been doing a little bit of swapping. That sounds good to have, yeah, that opportunity to taste other homegrown produce as well. So, would you say that there's been any turning points when it comes to your eating and that decision to actually stop dieting? Because, as you said, the diets were hard to stick to. So, what kind of were you doing instead of dieting, or when you started, adopting mindful eating? How did that all change for you?
I think it was the fact that I was just so fed up and frustrated. I was, looking after my husband. I had little energy, and I found that I wasn't getting any satisfaction from anything, including cooking, because he wasn't eating and that sort of thing. And then seeing you at the local library when you gave your talk, it just came at the right time, because I think, oh, well, this might just work. It's no diet. It's nothing like that. And I thought to myself, well, I'm going to give this a go and see how far I get on it.
Yes. And tell me a little bit about that experience of mindfulness and mindful eating when you first come into the program and Yeah, how that started to help you change what you were thinking
It was an
about.
eye-opener.
Yeah.
I didn't know much about nutrition. When I was a child, we didn't boiled eggs and tomato sauce growing up, basically, because we didn't have the money.
Yes.
So going into the Navy, I was given 3 meals a day, which was quite good.
Yes.
And then, yeah, after that, I did a lot of cooking and everything. But I found that after all the hassles and that over the years before I started on the program, it was interesting to learn about the nutritional facts, about how it's okay not to weigh yourself 5 times a day, how it was okay if you had a bad day. There was no pressure from the program. You had to fit it into a certain time frame, but you did it in your own time. You weren't pressured to sit there and have it done in 10 minutes or anything like that. You could, and the best part was I could contact you and ask you questions if I needed to. You're offside yourself, brilliant in getting back to us with information as we needed it or hooking us up. You gave me an outlet, somewhere where I could actually research and with being a type 2 diabetic, I was struggling with that as well. So it was helping along those lines. And when we did the sugar challenge,
Mm.
for example, and the challenges that you put up during the course of the program, yeah, were quite interesting to say the least. And but I found the sugar one was really, really good. In fact, I'm doing that challenge again starting this week.
Yes.
So I have issues with the sugars again. So although they're coming down, there's still an issue for surgery.
So, when you talked about the nutrition, the information had been given to you before, but do you feel, and I mean from other programs and
Yeah.
other practitioners, do you feel that it perhaps wasn't personalized enough for you, or the pace wasn't right for you in terms
I
of what
think
other people?
totally it wasn't a one-on-one thing.
Yes.
It was just the basics. Oh, this is what you get from the vitamins you get from this food, the vitamins you get from that food. But it didn't go into the other things you could swap it for and use their nutritional value. And it was just as good. But if you wanted to go along the vegetarian line, it was helpful because, you spoke about lentils, you spoke about the oats and
Yes.
everything.
Yes.
And just it made the food sound interesting enough to try it. I
Yes.
mean, I love food. Like you put anything in front of me except try it, I'll eat it. Oh, and kiwi fruit.
Yes.
But it was really good to be able to sit there and see what the benefits were from this food, the nutritional benefits from this food.
And in terms of taking care of your diabetes, that wasn't always a priority for you when,
No,
especially when you first got diagnosed, was it? Could
no,
you
it wasn't.
share that with us? Because I know a lot of women that I speak to struggle with what you struggled with back then as well.
Well, when I was diagnosed, I was caring for my husband, who was an alcoholic. I was caring for my mum, who was living with us, and she had cancer. And I just didn't have time
Yeah.
to worry about diabetes. I've been living without it to say per se that to be told that I had it and I had to do this and I had to do that. And I thought, I haven't got time. I've
Yes.
got a job that I hold down full time. I care for two adults,
Yes.
and it was just too much to deal with. I felt so overwhelmed that I just pushed it to the back. And
Yes.
I thought, I'll deal with this another day. And
Yes.
unfortunately, it was the wrong thing to do.
Mm.
But, at the time, I thought it was the right thing to do. And that's how things work. It's
Yes.
the best thing at that time.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to not overwhelm ourselves. And as you know, with my approach and the eating for you approach, it's really about just taking one small step and
Yeah,
nailing it. And I have to put my hand up and say I've been guilty in the past, especially with people newly diagnosed with diabetes, giving them 10 things to do. But having worked in the public system, unfortunately, that's what happens because I may never get to see you again. So you want
that's
to
right.
give everyone the information. And this is where, as you said, with the sort of self paced approach with the Foundation's mindful eating program, you can just fit it in to your day when you have time. And as you said, reaching out on the coaching calls and really being able to focus on that one thing you have to nail before you move on to the next. And I think
That's
it's
true.
really important for all of us, whether we're a healthcare practitioner or you're receiving information from a healthcare practitioner, give them the feedback and say, look, I want to do something about this, but I can only do one thing. What is the one thing that I can get started with?
I had
Because,
no idea of that process.
yes, of course. Yeah.
Process.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly right. That is so, so true. Aside from the nutrition information that you found really practical and you could put into practice much more easily, was there anything that helped with the non-hunger eating habits? Some of the sugar
Oh,
cravings, the
yes.
stress eating, and the comfort eating that does pop up from time to time. How has that changed for you?
I would go through the following week hearing your voice in the background after our weekly meetings with the group,
Yes.
and I would hear your voice there. But the one thing that has always stuck in my brain is that, to stop and think, stop and pause and think before you take that food, decide to eat that food or not eat that food. And that has never gone away. Yesterday, actually, I had some bad news about some surgery, and I thought, I'm going to have Domino's for tea tonight. I'm going to go out and pig out on Domino's. And I thought to myself, whoa, hang on. And I hear Sally's voice in the background going, pause, think,
Yeah.
then make a decision. And I paused and I thought, oh, I'm going out for lunch tomorrow. I really shouldn't have this for dinner tonight. One, at the cost, of course, because I couldn't really afford two dinners out, like lunch and dinner out. And I thought, no, I'm not going to have Domino's for dinner tonight. And it's not the first time I've done that in the last couple of weeks. I've paused, I've thought, and I tell you what, if nothing else you get out of it, that is an empowering thing.
Yeah.
Empowering.
And I think what goes hand in hand with that whole process, if it was so easy just to hit the pause button and not reach for those comfort foods or those yummy, soothing
It
foods.
wasn't always easy.
No, that's right. And that is why I wanted to just mention that we pair that with that whole belief transformation
Mm.
about what is it that you really want for your health and what choices are going to nourish you. Because habits just run on autopilot. If we could just push the pause button without doing some of that reflection and resetting of our goals, then we'd be able to eat what we want at any time and turn off the I'm eating that because I'm stressed, or I'm eating that because I feel upset, or I'm eating that because I deserve a reward. It is, as you said, Gail, it's not always easy. And we have to keep training the mind and training our choices towards something that's actually going to nourish us and make us feel
Look,
well.
I've fallen off the trail plenty of times and picked
Mm,
myself up. And usually the reasons have been medical, personal, emotional stuff. And unfortunately, I react emotionally by grabbing food. But I learned through the program that I go back to those basic rules and that you implanted in our heads.
yeah.
And it was just the fact that you had said that just because you muck up one day, just forget about it and look at the next day and start again. Not making it an everyday rule, of
No.
course, but you know.
Yes.
And that's helped me get to where I am now, that my process of my husband's death and things have happened since, and I'm finally seeing that I'm in the position now where I'm more comfortable with myself than I have been, and that I can pick up my notes from the program. I haven't looked at all the podcasts that you send through, but some I've checked out, and I feel like I can start again, and hopefully this will be it. This will be the last time I have to start again, because the majority of the problems have now gone.
Yes.
And I can look after myself, which I've not done for a very, very long time. I can now put myself forward, which is really strange. But and not only that, I don't have anybody here telling me I can't do it.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. And it goes back to, your commitment to looking after your mum and your husband and your full-time job and being there for your children as well. We can spread ourselves too thinly, as the
Yeah,
saying goes, in terms of looking after everyone else. But there has to come a time, whatever triggers it, that we put ourselves first, because if we don't look after ourselves, then we do burn out and then we can't look after other people either. But I think the really important thing too that you just shared was that mindfulness is a practice, and it's
yes,
something that becomes easier over time and with practice. And the way I often describe it on the calls, sometimes we're more mindful than others. So sometimes we might, as you just explained, that you had some bad news, you thought about ordering, the Domino's or getting the Domino's pizza, but you were able to intervene at that level. Another time, you may not be as mindful and you'll actually get the pizza and you'll be sitting there eating the first piece of pizza saying, well, this is not actually what I need right now.
that's
So
right.
you stop there and you put the remainder of the pizza away for another time. And this is what I'm saying. And whereas before, a lot of ladies explain it to me, Sallyanne, I would have eaten the whole pizza and the ice cream and the chocolate and then realized that was not the best choice. And I think, Gail, you sharing today just reinforces to me that this process of mindful eating is evolving. And to hear you say that I can just go back to those principles and be okay and not beat myself up or think it's too hard or impossible for me to maintain, because you know that you can go back to that method and it's going to support you.
It's a brilliant program you've got. I
Thank
look,
you.
and I've said that to you before. It's a brilliant program. I encourage any lady to do this. There's no pressure. There's no putting you down. It's just uplifting and it's encouragement and it's just looking at things a different way.
Yes.
And listening to the other ladies in the group chats each week is really, really good because you know you're not alone. You sit there and you think, oh, look, I'm the only person that has this issue. Why am I the only one who have this issue? I don't hear of anybody else. In actual fact, there's at least half a dozen people that have not said no to the ice cream, have beaten themselves up because they've said, they just can't seem to hang in there or whatever. But the course helps you come to terms with the fact that you're not perfect, and it's not a one night miracle cure. It's a life-changing program and it's for life. And
Yes.
that's why I feel like, because when I've fallen off the trailer and gone my own way, thinking, oh, look, I can do this on my own. Look, no problems. I'm, superwoman. Ha ha. And then you find out after you hit the floor for the second, third time, well, I think I'll go back and check out what Sallyanne has to say, and what the group has to say. And listening to those ladies helped me more than they will ever know, knowing that they too struggled with the
Yeah.
same issues, the pain problems, the surgery problems, the relationship problems. So it's a different sort of thing. It's not a diet. It's not one night miracle cure. It's a life-changing and a forever life program.
Yeah.
And it's brilliant. And I thank you for letting me be part of that.
Yeah, no, thank you, Gail, for sharing that. And I just want to acknowledge too that your motivation for sharing with us on the Eating for You podcast was to let ladies out there know that if there are struggles with their eating, if they feel that they can't do it, that there is a community and there is a program that can actually help them move through that.
Yeah. And they
Because
don't
I,
have to be afraid to be part of it. I was scared, totally scared to get on there, the first meeting and share my thoughts and what and you give each person time to say what their week's been like and to give them some guidance if needed or refer back to part of the program. And I found that just brilliant. I just thought, wow, where else would you find this?
Mm,
So, after the first time that I was on there, I felt really calm about going back and listening
Yeah.
to the ladies and that.
Yeah. Oh, and I've had ladies join the program being very unsure about the group catch ups. And, we had discussed if they wanted to, add on to the program and have individual calls, that was a possibility for them. But like yourself, after that first call, they knew it was a safe space. They knew every woman there had been on a similar journey to them
Yeah,
and was there to support them. They just forget about this idea of not being able to share because, as I said, it's a safe space and
it is
you learn
very
you're not
safe.
alone. So, Gail, if you could say what's changed for you, you've mentioned, not beating yourself up. You've mentioned getting that love of cooking back and taking care of yourself. But what do you think's the most important thing that's happening for you now with your eating and your health?
I think it's putting me first.
Yes.
I still have a lot of work on how to love me, but I think doing things for myself without having to consider another person, and so it's only me that's going to benefit from it as such, is a new experience and one that I'm only just starting to get the hang of. And the kids say to me, Mum, you can do whatever you want now.
Yeah.
You can go out, you can do clubs, go to different clubs like the Bonsai Club, like the RSL sub brands and the Legacy and doing all that. And it's quite a powerful thing to
Yes.
know that I can do this
Yes.
and I'm putting me out there. So I think that would be the biggest thing from it that I've got, or
Yes.
now that's happening now.
Yeah. And I think that's really important because the whole practice of mindfulness just helps you navigate life for where you're at the
Yeah.
moment. It was in a conversation on the podcast. I think it was with Judy, and we were talking about the ups and downs of life. And when you incorporate mindfulness and mindful eating, it allows you just to keep that sort of even keel rather than,
Mm.
the big ups and downs. But also, as you often shared with me, learning to look after yourself and put yourself first and decide what is the rest of my life going to be because I'm by myself now. And that's something that a lot of women have to adjust to. They lose their life partner and it can affect them very differently. So I think mindfulness, in my own experience and what I've seen with my clients and talking to my colleagues, mindfulness is a tool that helps us navigate those transitions and helps us find what's right for us. And that's what I always wanted the Eating for You approach to be, was to empower all of my clients to become the experts in what they need to do to look after themselves. Because I, love to check in on you all and hear how you're going, but I want you to go away and do this by yourself. Obviously, come back if you need some guidance, but it's all about setting you up for success with your eating, your health, and
And
your life.
And the mindfulness, it's not only just the mindfulness about the eating and that, it's also the meditation sessions of
Mm.
the breathing and that. And I use that often, especially when I'm angry. This Monday was one. I was very calm at the hospital and, I just breathed, remembered to breathe and, take it easy. And even in bed when I can't sleep, I'll do the breathing exercise. And yeah, it just takes you into another realm and of peace.
Yes.
And as you said, after 47 years with my husband, to be out on my own, even though I'm a strong person and I can look after myself
Mm.
and I can do things for myself, I had become a carer for many years. And
Yeah.
all of a sudden, I'd lost my husband and I'd lost what my job was, my role as his wife and his carer. And I had said to my psychologist, what do I do now?
Yes.
Where do I go? How do I move on from all of this? And as I said, it's only been in the last couple of months that I've started to come out of the fog of the grief and everything. And I'm seeing that there's things I need to do for myself and I need to pick up the program again. I need to look at my notes. I need to address that, which I did, but I felt I didn't do really great at
Yeah.
because of what was happening.
Yeah, I know. I know. But as I explained to you and all of the other ladies, that's why that lifelong access to the program is so important
Yeah,
because you will change, you will evolve. I have, shared with my clients before, but not necessarily on the podcast. I remember back to our most recent bushfires, and I was at home by myself. We had three fires, coming from three different directions, not with immediate threat. But I realized I went 3 days and I hadn't hardly eaten anything because I had been walking that line of vigilance versus anxiety, I suppose, being over concerned about what was going on. And so at different times, we may stop eating or we'll overeat because of things that are happening. But what mindfulness teaches us is to notice, first of all. And when we notice, we can actually start correcting things much earlier. So all of us can get affected by life events in different ways, and different times, as I said, it may cause us to stop eating or to actually overeat. So just having that awareness and saying, oh, this is a bit interesting. What's happening here? How do I
Yeah,
actually start nourishing myself? Because I'm not going to be, in my case, I was not going to be able to fight a fire if I hadn't eaten for 3 days. I was exhausted emotionally and mentally as it was. So I think, if anything, and what other sort of ladies share with me as well, it's just being able to be aware of it. Going back to that pizza story, ladies will say to me, I'd eaten the pizza, I'd had the ice cream and the chocolate, and then I noticed. Whereas what mindfulness does is sort of connect you with that thought, behavior, and habit of I need to eat because I'm stressed. And that then gives you the decision, or the space to make a decision whether that's the most nourishing thing for you right
that's
now.
true.
And so, circumstances change, different drivers or reasons for eating come into play, different priorities come in for our health. So, yes, all the ladies that I catch up with that have been out of the program, for your length of time or even longer, I encourage them to go back and see, well, is there anything new here for me? Because not everything is relevant to you as you're, working through it the first time. And it's not meant to be either, because as I said, we focus on one thing at a time and get you progressing with that. So, what does the future look like for you, Gail, in terms of your health and what you'd like to be able to achieve for yourself?
I think with readdressing the program and sections of the program that are relevant to the things that I'm facing at the moment, I'll be able to calmly, deal with them using the meditation and, of course, the mindfulness.
Yes.
And I try to use mindfulness throughout the day, not just with eating, try to be aware of what I'm doing and why I'm doing it
Yes.
and who will it affect. Yeah, I think that I can get through these next few years with a better attitude, a better approach to it all.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's what will happen.
Yeah. And I know you want to keep up with your grandchildren. I know you want to keep your gardening and being as independent as you can be.
Oh yeah, I don't want to be reliant on the kids. I've been independent ever since I was little. I've had to find my own way through life and all the rest of it. I
Yeah.
sure as hell don't want to become dependent on them.
Yes.
And as long as they pop in every now and then just to make sure I'm alive, I'll be happy. Phone call now and then wouldn't hurt.
Gail, is there anything else you'd like to share?
Just like to emphasise that the program is brilliant. And if anybody that's doing the program can encourage others to join them, those who are struggling like we've all struggled, to know that there's a place where we don't have to feel that we're being belittled or we're looked down upon, that we share our thoughts without any fear of it going any further within our groups, and that listening to the stories of others, there's so many ladies out there still that can get so much from this program. And as I said, all I can do is encourage them to talk to others about it, encourage them to join it and find the freedom that we've found.
Yeah.
The freedom in being able to be ourselves and understand better what we're doing.
Thanks for sharing that, Gail. And if you are listening and think, yeah, I would like to find out more about this, I do offer a free call, and I'll make sure the link to the mindful eating strategy call is available to you, because I would never sell you something unless I really believed that this program was going to help you. So, Gail, thanks again for joining us today.
Oh, look, it's been my pleasure. It's nice to catch up with you too.
Just a bonus, huh?
Oh, what a lovely bonus.
So, if you've been listening today and you have enjoyed this episode, please share the link on your social media pages and subscribe so you don't miss out on our future episodes. And I look forward to sharing with you again very soon. You have been listening to the Eating for You podcast with Sallyanne Pisk. If you are looking for additional support to enjoy a lifelong way of healthier eating, then join me in a free 30-minute call to see if our approach is right for you. I have included the link to book an obligation-free call in this episode's notes.